Okay, guys, I'm setting this up. Hopefully I'm going to, I've got it recording and I've got Guerin's coming in a second. So Wayne's hopefully going to join us later. He had a family issue he had to take care of today. Okay. Guerin, are you on the call?
I am.
Okay. I think you can do video, but I can't push it from my side if you want to do your webcam.
Let me try. Nope, it says your video is disabled by the host.
Ooh, okay. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, that's all right. We can.
Yeah. Make host. Well, we'll just go with audio then. Sounds good?
That sounds good. Yeah.
Okay. Guys, if you were on the call yesterday, I apologize. I made a rookie mistake. It is recording right now, and I'm just going to verify that before we get started. Yep, it is recording. Yesterday, I hit pause as I'm doing this setup, and I forgot to unpause it and hit resume recording. So I get to do it all over again over the weekend. So if y'all were on the call, good news is you're going to get the recording, but bad news is it wasn't from the call. So I am very, very lucky to have a great partner, Wayne. He's not on the call, but he is a marketing strategist also. And one of the things that occasionally we run across some customers that are so much more brilliant about RSS feeds and strategies and monetization that I want to jump on the call because I'm going to learn something today. Is Guerin, very, very excited you're joining us on the call today. And today's going to be a little bit different. It's not all about RSSMasher Tech, although we make a lot of it happen with the software, and we may do some demos later near the end of the call. But it's more about let's think through, let's brainstorm and get some ideas running on how you can set up your sites, what type of niches to go into, and we got a whole bunch of little topics we're going to talk about today. So slightly different, not a software demo, but it's more of a strategy and idea building. And what I like to do is I like to do my mind maps. This is kind of how I keep things organized in place. So if everybody's ready to get started, I know the recorder's working. Okay. We started off, Guerin, do you want to kind of lead off as we went from
Sure.
Fireside chat. So we're going to talk about different ad networks, and feel free to jump on the, send us a chat mode. I've got the chat open.
Okay.
And so if you have any ideas in each of these sections, just drop them in the chat and we'll add it to this. At the end of the call, whatever we have as our mind map, I'm going to print out. I'll put it in outline form also so you can maybe a little bit easier to read because sometimes these mind maps get really big. But the idea here is to get your mind flowing about if you could have unlimited fresh content delivered to any medium that you want, what would you do with it? How would you make money? And that's the simple question. That's the way that you need to be thinking about RSS feeds. It's a unlimited source of fresh, oftentimes trending content written by others that you can do something with. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to copy and swap and do all that. You can use the images, use the titles. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. So what we're going to talk about, we're going to lead off with ads. What type of ads can you do on your WordPress site to start with? So we kind of opened this up earlier. In fact, I'm glad we were on just a personal call, and I'm like, man, we got a few hours to do this. And then I was reminded it started in 5 minutes. So we're going to build this with you on the call. So hopefully this makes sense. So we started talking about Google AdSense. This is by far one of the easiest ways to set up a WordPress, a recurring income model with AdSense. The idea here is you've got to have a WordPress site. You got to have fresh content coming in all the time, or writing your own content. But AdSense has come a long ways over the last 10 years. It will match in content formats with either text ads. They'll do text links. They also do taboola type ads, and they follow you around the internet. So AdSense is probably one of the best ones if you're just getting started with this type of auto blogging content marketing model. The other one that I like, and it's coming along, Amazon right now, they have some plugins that go in WordPress. I've tested a few of them. Some are okay. Some could be better. But if you individually select using your Amazon associate account, you individually select the ads and put them on a spin, or put them in an ad rotator inside of WordPress, or you can spin them inside of the Mash. Amazon is a great source, because you can, if you have a post talking about a PlayStation game, you can have the top 4 PlayStation game offers inside of there. So you can be very specific with the content that is being posted into the site. Whereas AdSense may be placing an ad, if you looked at big screen TVs on Amazon, and then you came to a site about outdoor patios, it's still going to show you big screen TVs. Whereas if you're using Amazon Direct here instead of AdSense, you could put on outdoor patios different types of patio grills. So it would be more content relative than tracking your cookie codes. And same with Walmart. Walmart's coming along. They pay a little bit better commission. And Walmart and Amazon are both accepted. I know at least worldwide is people trust these as, they have no problem clicking through, pulling out a credit card and spending money. And the same to a certain extent with eBay. eBay's commission is not that strong, but you can find a lot of really clever products on eBay that are truly unique. And then we got into
also things that are verging into the service or information product realm as well. So when you're thinking about eBay, don't just think about I'm selling my ex-wife's golf clubs. There's stuff in there that is a little more flexible sometimes. You just kind of need to do a little searching for it. I generally find that when I'm like thinking out a niche, I will check all of these places, right? I'm going to go first to Amazon probably, then I'll go to Walmart. I don't do Walmart as much, but I always go to eBay just to see what their search engine kicks up, because it will sometimes point you in directions that you don't consider. I mean, one of the things that's in the realm of possibility with this technology is that you can make these sideways jumps into different product categories that you would not expect. And so that's part of, as once you set this up, you could set it up, it can be fire and forget, or it can be, analyze this, drop stack counter into the token and see if you're continuing to get traffic someplace. And then if you hit a winner, right? This isn't like Vegas. You don't need to pick up your chips and walk away from the table or leave the slot machines. You can start thinking, all right, this is working. Whatever I'm doing here is generating traffic and it's generating sales. So let's look at what's adjacent to it. Let's look at the categories that are similar, but maybe a little bit different, or I always use this word orthogonal. It's at a right angle to what we're doing, but it still has this possibility, this sense of connection that you should capitalize on, right? This is a game where, when something's working, double down on it. And so that's why sometimes doing these searches for eBay makes sense, even though we don't think that there's a steady product stream. For instance, I parted out an old Mac laptop. Actually, it wasn't that old. It was basically brand new, and it just decided to stop working. It wasn't worth fixing the logic board. It was cheaper to buy a new machine. But I parted out the old one. My daughter and I took it apart, and we sold the pieces on eBay. But what I did was I built a page that listed, I took the product description from a reseller, and I built my own page. And then I drop my eBay items onto that page. And what happens is even when they sell, people click through, eBay will serve up the similar item. Somebody else is selling another logic board from a MacBook Air in this case. And so that's like a fairly steady revenue stream. Mid-tier products, some of the stuff, like I sold all the bolts or all the screws out of the bottom of it for like $25. Well, people are always the screws get loose, they miss one, or they replace a hard drive and the cat eats one of them. There's a steady stream of people buying $25 sets of screws or $35 sets of screws. So I'm getting a couple cents every month from that one-time exercise with eBay. And, it adds up. I mean, you're not going to get rich on that, but I'm probably, by replicating this approach, I part out motorcycles because I break them. And those if you set this up the right way, it's just not the part that you're selling, it's the next guy and the next gal and the third guy, and you can kind of push this on down the road. And it's interesting because eBay did got their commission structures. I used to make a fair amount of money by just repackaging high-end automobiles or rare motorcycles as content, getting the link off that and getting the commission bump off that. Now, I don't know when this was. It might have been 2016, might have been before that. It's now $40 is the cap on that. But $40 for somebody selling a Lotus Exige 240 or something. These niche automobiles where you can get traction because it's a very specialized niche, people are still coming to my content to learn about Exige 240s, and then there's an eBay ad for the one that's up for auction. So somebody gets a wild hair and they go and bid, and it's $40. So that's a model that can be used in lots of different ways. I just bought a new gun for my wife, Smith & Wesson M&P Shield. And so we've been going to the range and shooting it. So had to get ear protection for her, eye protection for her, a couple extra magazines. We've got a gun case, got a biometric trigger lock, all that stuff. That's like, I don't know it's probably $700 worth of stuff, right? We picked up a consignment pistol for like $250. So I've searched for all these things. So I've built content now, or am building out content in each of these areas because I can see the Google pay per click coming through. Also, I asked the same damn question on Quora. And now once I see some Quora questions, like what's the best range ammo for Smith & Wesson M&P 9mm? So once that question catches traction, and because I'm in the partners program, I can see the analytics going to it, then I can put my link into the question, and now I've got another way of monetizing that. And that, to bring it back to RSSMasher Tech, that's the sort of thinking that I think is what gives this so much life. Because you've got content, there's so many different ways to monetize it. There's so many different ways to pull it forward and create these little passive streams of income that build up. And that to me is the golden ticket in doing internet marketing, at least this sort of thing, is that you want to build these streams of passive income. And because of the framework that this technology is built on, you can go in and you can change the tokens. And so somebody is no longer making this particular brand of ammo or this particular model of ammo. So you swap in something new, or this company is no longer making magazines for the MMP, or there's the MMP 2.0 or whatever it is. You can keep adjusting this into your flow. So you want to think of this as, like the hot water heater at one of my tenants. It drips and drips because it develops a leak in the bottom of it, and it just keeps flowing, and pretty soon there's a whole lot of water everywhere, and I've got to go fix it. But that's what this is about. This is dripping out bits and bits that accrete, that gather, that flood over time. And that's why I'm very excited about RSSMasher Technology, because this is the way to do it. This is the way to take an idea and keep expanding it when you see success.
Yeah.
Sorry for hijacking that.
No, that's fine. And you can see kind of how I'm jumping around, because I want to make sure that at the end of this call that you have some ideas that you can take with you. And what the biggest idea here that Guerin was trying to get across to you is, you can set up several different niche sites, and especially if you have the agency license that we have, you can do unlimited WordPress sites, but you could have a niche site that is just woodworking. And once you set it up, get your RSS feeds and just let it feed itself. And then you decide what you want to put on there. And of course, eBay is great if you're selling products or software or wholesale lots. Is use these sites to drive traffic, and once you have traffic coming in, then you can monetize it many different ways. And this is kind of what you need to think about, is if you are parting out motorcycles, just as an example here, and this is something that you enjoy doing, and you have a link into eBay, and plus you have an affiliate link with eBay, is build you a motorcycle site. One of the greatest ones would be a Second Amendment site, right to carry arms. And this right here would lend itself to all types of gun, accessories, books, even events, that would be focused around this. So what we're trying to do is help you think, not in terms of how do I monetize it with AdSense. Instead is, how do you build a traffic source, and how do you make it so that you can easily set it up with any of these, and then focus on things that, that you like running. You could have a woodworking site or a Second Amendment or whatever. You can niche it all the way down. So that's where we're kind of going with this, is you got to kind of think through long-term, although you're not going to have to manage the site long-term. That's the beauty of it. This is a set it and forget it type tool that you're going to get fresh content every single day coming in once you set it up. So Guerin, tell me about other ways that you would go about finding niches.
So, first off, I assuming almost nobody on this call is a newbie. Everybody's been doing this for a while. So, the first thing I look at is I'm embarrassed to count the number of domains that I've got that aren't used. I call them dusty domains. They're just domains that I purchased and I renew, and because I had a wild hair or I saw a great traffic site or something. I got some bizarre ones. I've got a French language evangelical Christian site, and I don't, that's not really my cup of tea, and I don't speak French, but yeah, I have this site. So it's one of those domains that's sitting there, and I built it out of the Wayback Machine. So the first couple pages of it look like the original site. And it's got AdSense on it, and I don't know whatever else I did to monetize it in the half day that I worked on it. But it's been sitting there, and it's been sitting there for 2 years. So now, guess what? Now I have this way to generate content for it, because I've got the ability to go find RSS feeds that are in French and have something to do with the subject. And so this now, I think, will become a fairly functional AdSense moneymaker, or at least, if nothing else, it's going to continue to generate traffic. That traffic makes the backlinks from that site more valuable. So that's one way of looking at this niche issue, is using your existing assets, your dusty domains. And you know, one of the questions to ask yourself and to build out a mind map is to look, the sites I have, are they money sites, or are they what I call network soldiers? You know, the sites that I've built to support my money sites. For me, my money sites are most of them are what I call legacy newspaper sites. So for the better part of 20 years, I published print newspapers. I own local newspapers in the mountains of Colorado, in a couple areas in Denver, and then in a new developing area called Stapleton. So I've got these legacy newspaper sites, and they're rich content. They're Google News sites. And so I've built sites over the years, a network of sites, to carry the RSS feeds from these sites mashed in with other sites that carry similar news. So we used to call these authority networks or authority sites, but they were in mashed RSS feeds. So now I'm looking at this and I'm going, all right, which of these network sites or network soldiers are developing travel, local events, local businesses? What sorts of traffic do I see there? And then I can take the RSS feeds from those sites, drop them into RSSMasher, and now I've got the way to push the content with ride-along ads into social media. So instead of just relying on Jetpack pushing out a particular story onto Twitter or whatever, now I can actually take the more intelligent version of the mashed site or the mashed feeds from those sites with ride-along advertising and push it out into this auto-content, auto-curated network going out on social media. So I'm going to use existing assets again to sort of leverage, amplify the capabilities that I've got. Another sort of existing asset that I've got are a bunch of cloud sites that I've built up with around using basically spun content, but they're cloud sites. So they sit on AWS, they sit on Microsoft Azure, there's some on the Google Cloud. So now, what can I do with those? And so those are usually built around niches where there was action on ClickBank. And one of the things I found about ClickBank is there's so many niches that I have no affinity or no knowledge, didn't even think existed. A lot of them are like they're personal problems, like cellulite. I've got all these cellulite sites that I've built up over the years. Personally, not an issue I struggle with. Don't have any personal knowledge of it. My wife is a marathon runner. We're in New Orleans she's running a marathon on Sunday. Not a big issue in our household, cellulite, but there's a ton of products out there. And this is perfect for that. Those sort of difficult to solve problems that people are always looking for help on. And that's what I find a lot of in ClickBank. And I also find that, that's someplace where there's social media traffic all the time. I mean, literally people are searching for solutions to these sorts of problems. You know, if you're concerned about one of these things, it never leaves your mind. So that is one of those really powerful marketing conclusions. And that's one of those things you find. Just browse through ClickBank and look for the niches and see, all right, what can I do with this? Do I have an asset I can use? Are there RSS feeds I can use? You know, can I do this with a blogger? Can I do it with WordPress? Whatever. You've got so much flexibility with this tool to now create, you know, a whole network of sites and a whole social media army really around this, that you can push so quickly. You know, it used to be if you were going to do something like this, you were going to grind away at it for weeks. I mean, you were going to get content written, or you're going to spend content. You were going to, you know, you were going to fight that. And particularly with RankBrain, you know, that thin content was not moving. So it was going to be a struggle. But now you've got the best content in the world via RSS, and using the system with the templates, you're going to be able to develop these sites, you know, in less than a day. And that's really, really, really powerful. The other thing that I think you can build in terms of looking at sites and networks is price comparison stuff. And that's, you know, that's the perfect thing to do, you know, in terms of research. You can research stuff on Quora. People will give you all sorts of information with their experiences with the different product line. And they are more than happy to tell you the pros and cons of competing products. And it's like, I didn't realize this until not very long ago, but Quora is like having a focus group. It's very, very powerful. And you just put up questions, and you're going to make a, you know, nickel or a dime off the question with the Quora Partners Program. But, you know, you're going to get some deep answers, and you may have to keep, you know, bugging people to give you responses, but, you know, you'll get 400 or 500 word answers from people. That gives you the seed of information that you can then take and build into product comparison, price comparison, all sorts of things that's going to be, you know, really killer. I mean, you can create an RSS feed just based on a product niche, right? So I like maybe something like NutriBullet, you know, which is a tiny, not really tiny, but a medium-sized mixer that people use to do smoothies with. So we use it to like blend kale and blueberry and all this crap together that otherwise I couldn't consume, but put it in a nice little smoothie and I'll drink it. So, you know, there are a bunch of NutriBullet models. There's a bunch of NutriBullet competitors now. So you can build up content just by going into Quora, looking at that, looking at the associated questions, grabbing out pieces of that. And now you've got search terms that you can use to throw into a Google News RSS feed, or Twitter mention search, or there's a bunch of ways you can create then ongoing content that are RSS based. That is, you know, one way to sort of break through the limits that we put on ourselves when we're thinking about marketing and niches. And, you know, don't get stuck. Go get help. People are willing to provide the help on Quora for free. They'll tell you what they're looking for, and they'll tell you, you know, what it is that motivates them to become buyers. Now all you have to do is take those answers and figure out, how am I going to translate that into content that's going to be evergreen? And, you know, it can be, you know, if you charge too hard into one of these big niches like weight loss, you're just not going to get any traction. It's very, very hard. I don't know how many Facebook groups there are on weight loss, But if you take it down a step and look at something that's a little more focused, like, oh, I don't know, my wife suffers from something called pernicious anemia. She doesn't metabolize the vitamin B12, so she's got to get a B12 shot. That is one of those niche things where there are like, you know, there may be 3 groups. Yeah, somebody just put up gastric bypass. That's the level of, you know, does it work? What are the procedures? How much does it cost? What's the recovery like? You know, after you have gastric bypass, what is it like? Somebody just threw up celiac. It may be almost too broad now because it's such a big thing, but gluten intolerance, gluten-free cooking, gluten-free recipes, recipe cookbooks, restaurants. You know, if you've got, you know, you can push through to something like, you can even extend this into the local piece. There are restaurants in many places now that really have a focus on a gluten-free menu or a vegan menu, or we've got a paleo place in Denver now. So there's ways to even take this, and if you're developing content, then maybe you can hook up a local side partnership. You know, one of the most successful marketing campaigns I ever did in a print newspaper was, we did something called the Pizza Olympics. So we had, you know, we got like 5 people to be judges, and then we had pies come in from, I think it was a dozen local pizzerias. And it was a huge thing because people were so passionate about their pizza. People had such, I mean, you know, Pizza Alley is the best, or Carl's Pizza is the best, or whatever. We sold ads off of that for years. I mean, that was one of those things. I think I spent, you know, the equivalent of dropping $500 in print ads, which today would be the equivalent of building a Facebook group, dropping some notices in Nextdoor and, you know, local focused Facebook groups, and then sold ads off the resulting traffic for years. It was probably worth $30,000. Those are the sorts of things where, you know, you want to think, all right, if I've got content, I've got traffic, you know, who else is out there that wants this traffic? If I'm a restaurant and I've just introduced a gluten-free menu, their value per customer is probably $200-300, because they get somebody in there that's looking for a gluten-free menu, and they go in and they have a decent experience. A person's going to keep coming back 10 times over the course of 2 years, 3 years. I don't know what we would say the lifetime span for that restaurant and that menu is, but the lifetime value of that customer to that restaurant's $300 top line. Maybe it's more. And so that's why, if you can niche this down, get traffic, and then find somebody that wants that traffic, that's the local angle in, not going out and trying to do SEO for, you know, HVAC guys when there's 2,800 people doing that, but finding ways to get local content that is useful. You know, one of the things that on the social media side, when you're looking at trying to generate feeds, look to your local media personalities, sports writers, weathermen. I mean, I follow a bunch of weather people on Twitter. It's weird, but, you know, one of them usually has the right forecast for next Thursday. There's lots of ways to take these RSS feeds, and you can build an RSS feed from Twitter and then populate it. So, you know, you can do, you know, a weather site for Pottawatomie County in Iowa. That might be a little bit of a stretch, but for, say, northwestern Iowa, yeah, Sioux City, Spirit Lake to Fort Dodge, you could do a site that's just populated with the RSS feeds from the weather people in Des Moines and Sioux City. Probably missing whatever the southern Minnesota media market is, but You know, think about these things. Grab yourself a map of the media markets around the country. I used to, when I bought TV, dirty little secret, I'm a former political consultant before I became a newspaper publisher. I had a big map of every media market in the country with all these big dots on it. I think it came from Nielsen that told me how much Grace rating point was to buy in those media markets. Those maps are still online. They're still free. You can look at the maps of the media markets around the country and then think it through. What is that media market interested in? Is there a sports team? It's often a college team that has a really strong local following. It's not always the pro team. You know, weather's evergreen. The weather changes every day. Everybody wants to know what the weather is going to be on Wednesday, because are you going to go play golf or should you go bowling? You know, and think about what people's information needs are, because somebody right now is supporting that, and they're supporting it in a way that you can build an RSS feed from. So, you know, the traditional way of looking at market segmentation is twofold, right? It's horizontal and vertical. So vertical is segmentation by place, and horizontal is breaking the place up into demographics or behavior or attitudes or interests. So you can always take that framework and build from it. So, you know, somebody out there knows exactly how many fishing rods are sold in every media market in the country. So if fishing is something you have an affinity for, you can look at the top 20 markets in the country by fishing rod sales, or I don't know what else you'd break out there, lures or live bait or whatever it is. And now you can build out, you know, niches around the top 20. And so the top 20 might not just be strictly about fishing. It might be weather. It might be the September boat show. It could be, you know, it could be like Trout Unlimited. There's a whole lot of things that you can pull out of that, but everything can start from that one single starting point. What's the horizontal? What is the media market? What is the information that these people are seeking? And then you can subdivide it by every horizontal cut you can take. So gender, age segment, home ownership, religion, income, ethnicity, and then the behavioral pieces. Shopping, they shop for entertainment, cultural events, they go to concerts, are they active outdoors? You know, everything that you can think of that people do, there is a segment. Everything that people are interested in, the pop culture thing, which Damon obviously exploits the hell out of, is one of those things. You know, whether it's celebrity news or maybe it's something that's more esoteric. They're thought leaders in every discipline. I follow a lot of people in fitness, health, diet space. So there are thought leaders out there that have Facebook pages that can be scraped. They've got Twitter feeds, which probably is the easiest way to generate an RSS feed from. But and they may have, you know, traditional websites. Almost not everybody these days has a WordPress site with an RSS feed on it, but almost everybody does. And so there's different ways. If there's not an existing feed, there may be something that you can scrape, or there's somebody out there that is repeating what they're doing. Like, for instance, the Joe Rogan podcast, his footprint is relatively small. He's got his YouTube channel and the podcast presence, and I think that might be it. But there are people that are doing show notes on every Joe Rogan show, and the show notes blog has an RSS feed. So here's a guy with a huge media footprint, but not, I mean, you could take the RSS feed from his YouTube channel, but beyond that, I mean, there's not going to be a ton of content there. But there's other people that are doing show notes or other takes on his shows because they're parasites. I mean, essentially what we want to be, but they're actually working hard at it. So what we're going to do is we're going to leverage their work to create content for us. And remember, because you can spin this stuff, that's the other thing. That's the other real killer twist in this, is you can spin that content so it's not just once used. You can keep spinning that down the way and mashing it in different ways and getting a completely new, fresh, different, rankable content stream out of it. And now that content stream you can push out into social media. So, man, I can talk. This is amazing. You know, my family, my wife thinks I never talk, and I get on one of these things and I've been talking for like 20 minutes straight. But these are all pieces of the puzzle that you can put together. Just always focus on, you know, what am I going to be selling to people in the end? And, you know, how am I going to set this up in a way where I don't have to keep messing with it? I may want to revisit my monetization hooks, but I want to just think through just enough so that I know I've got the flow of content. And that's really, you know, that to me is the simplest recipe. And I wish I had thought of some of these things before I started rambling, because I'd be executing on them.
And these are great ideas. I mean, stuff I don't even drill down. Like you said, I'm focused on a more broad instead of a very vertical. I mean, you'll get the outline on this, but these are excellent feed sources to bring in if you want a local news report. You could have a weather section. You could have new concerts and events, news from the local municipalities, local sports. All these have feeds that you can center around a metropolitan area or a local area. And then you could go out and sell local ads into your WordPress site. And these are just great. We have the ability inside of RSS Tech to do all these different types of filter criterias. And I added some, just taking notes on what Guerin was saying was, you know, don't rely just on WordPress feeds. You got podcast feeds, you have YouTube embeds, and these are great ideas right here. You could take a national feed that is, let's say it's Fox News, and I want anything related to Seattle. So you would have a filter on Fox News on that feed to create a mash. And it would be Fox News, Seattle. And then you could use that same feed, Fox News, Denver, you know, if you're creating a local site just for Denver. So keep this in mind. You're going to have all the notes from this. This is great, great stuff here. Give me a yes if y'all are finding some really good information on, we're drilling down as tight as we can on local niches. And is there anything else that you think we need to add to this mind map? Cool, getting some yeses coming in. And guys, I can jump back up to the mind map at any point if you think of something. So what I'm going to go ahead and move on. I'm going to add to this a little bit with some little bit of clever ideas on niches. I've been talking a couple of weeks about spin pigs. I had totally forgot I had this in my my database of domain names. I've got probably 5 more I'm not even listing right now that they're less than 12 characters. They're .coms. They sound great. They actually are a sentence. And it's a noun verb, verb noun type combo. But I'm using this as an example. I'm going to use a theme from Member, and all it is, it looks like a Pinterest site. It's just pictures. And that's what this is. It's going to be made into, and it has been sitting dormant for, I think 4 years now. So I'm going to build it into a Pinterest site, basically. So these are ideas to keep in mind. And I'm going to give you an idea to what I would call reverse niching. And I don't know if I spelled that right. But I used to do this, and I haven't done it in probably a couple of years. But when I was flipping domain names, eBay sells lots, and they sell it's kind of just a big package of domain names. And so you would go to eBay, go to domains, and I would buy a lot knowing there's 1 or 2 really good domains in here, but there may be 100 of them. So typically the guy that's selling them, he's selling them because the renewal's coming up on all 100 in the next 30 days, 60 days. And typically I find them mostly on Namecheap and GoDaddy. And when you buy that lot, he's going to give you the transfer code, and you just transfer it into GoDaddy. The ones that you don't want to keep, you turn off the renewals. The ones you keep, you're going to pay the renewal fee. But sometimes when you're buying a lot, and I've done this where it's near the end, near the renewal, for a couple $100, I was able to buy 500 domain names. Now, if I had gone out and bought all 500, the minimum I would have been paying would be $10 to buy them new, minimum. So that would have been $5,000. But out of those 500, I whittled it down. There were 5 of them that were just incredible domain names. So I turned off the renewals on the rest of them, kept those 5 domain names, and I built antique sites. It was all about rare gifts, antique gifts, classic gifts, and I made some nice little sites, and I flipped them. And I think each one I didn't sell for more than a few $100s, but I made a lot of money just flipping domain names that I would go in real quickly, use either RSSMasher, or I would load it with 10 or 15 articles and make it look like a good WordPress site. Now I have the tool of RSSMasher. I can just flood the thing with fresh new content. So I'm going to go back to flipping domain names. This is one of it's fun. You know, if you can build WordPress sites really fast, I could do that. I could do a duplicate. But the most important part is, can you fill it with good, fresh content and make it look like a news site? If you could do that, you could make money flipping domain names. So that's my reverse niching. Don't think about the niche, think about the domain name. Does it have value? Is it something that is sellable? I did a quick little webinar, 12 characters or less, .com, noun, verb, verb, noun, or a dictionary. If you can hit all those and you find them in a domain lot, don't tell anybody, just buy the entire lot. So that's just a spin-off of how do you find niches, okay? And let's go, Guerin, you had some other main topics that we were talking about. I didn't mean to steal your thunder there. One of the things on RSSMasher Technology, Guerin mentioned custom tokens. So in the MASH, a lot of people on the call probably already have RSSMasher Tech, but if you don't, you have custom tokens, and you could put whatever the hot selling item in ClickBank is that week, and it's building posts from it. And let's say in 30 days, there's a new hot selling product in the keto lineup. So you could go to your custom tokens, just swap out, put the new affiliate link in there, and you don't have to touch the scheduler, the MASH, or anything. It's going to keep on doing new posts, fresh content, but it's going to use the new affiliate link. So keep this in mind. This is an easy way to swap out affiliate links, anchor text, or money hooks. And you're always going to get fresh content dripped into a site. So, you know, like I said, on eBay lots, I really didn't care what the domain or niche was. I mean, I cared what the domain was, but I didn't care what the niche was, because I know I can get any RSS feed content to fit any niche, especially now that I have a lot more ideas from inside of our ideas for finding niches here. What's another main category we can build off this mind map?
Let's see. You know, one of the things I was, and I don't know whether this qualifies as a main category or not, but I assume that there's a lot of people out there that have old IFTTT networks that they built maybe in 2013, 2014, 2015. Those are all sites, Web 2.0s, that you can sort of incorporate into your network. So whether they're places where you're pulling out, where you're mashing your money site feed with other sites, or other things. I mean, IFTTT has lost a lot of functionality in terms of the way that you can post stuff through. So one of the things I want to go through is revisit is, you know, look at all those Web 2.0 properties and see where they fit within, you know, this RSS framework. You know, can we post to them? Can we post from them? Are there, you know, so old socials that we've let go by the wayside? You know, some of these things are you'll go in and, you know, Facebook's going to stop you getting in, or Twitter's going to say the account's suspended or whatever. You may have to spend some effort in revivifying these. Same with Sendwire. Sendwire's killed lots of things over the years, but you know, those are all things that you can revitalize. And, you know, you know, the number of Sendwire triggers that are dead now are all things that you could revisit and take a look at. You know, back before, is it 2017 or 2016 that YouTube had the massacre of channels? I had, you know, literally over 100 YouTube channels that were monetized, i.e. they had AdSense on them, and they were just repeating via Twitter or via Sendwire, public domain, or oftentimes college sporting YouTube channels. So there was a time where college sports, their athletic departments were producing basically video press releases or news conferences almost on a daily basis. So you could build up, like I had a channel that was just SEC football. So they were YouTube, basically push throughs from every team in the SEC. And I did it with Florida sports, with their, you know, UCF and Southern Florida and some of the less, not big conference teams. YouTube eventually killed all those. But I'm thinking about going back, and now instead of pushing the stuff back onto YouTube, this could be a perfect way to aggregate this as embeds onto a WordPress site. So you can take all of those YouTube feeds and build a site from them. So I think, you know, there's so many possibilities, and, you know, it's almost daunting to try to organize it. But just, you know, think through, you know, what were you doing that was working, and then for some reason or another it stopped working, or you found that it took too much time to manually update things to keep the content fresh. I mean, we all realize that when RankBrain came in, you know, that thin content that wasn't fresh no longer ranked. Now you're not burdened by that anymore. Now you've got ways to push out fresh content that's filtered and mashed and spun. So there's somebody just asked, does this work on GMBs? You could certainly put GMB embeds in, you know, if we go back and look at what we were talking about in terms of local sites, talk about me getting lost on tangent here, but we go back and look at that local site piece where we're doing local sports, local weather, etc., and curating that. your embed could be a GMB embed. So certainly now you've got, that local content mixed with the GMB, iframe in every post. Now, I don't know whether that would work, but it's certainly worth testing. I would test it first with GMB that you weren't all that concerned with the future of. But that's one way to use this with GMBs. Essentially, anything you can iframe, you can push out now and link it to the content. Oh, on GMB posts. Is there an RSS feed from a GMB post? I can't remember.
I don't remember. I know you could take an RSS feed and push it into a GMB post. And
that would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
I think you can do IFTTT. The Ranking Factory guys, they have some software that they use. But you can use Zapier, you can use Integromat to take your RSS feed and push it in. And one of the things I want to show you real quick is we just added, I'm going to take over the screen real quick here. Just push this over here. We added a feature yesterday. And I'm just going to edit one of these here, is where you can go in and strip the HTML. So if you have a feed, you could strip out all the HTML, keep the images in there. It's going to keep the line breaks and the paragraph returns in there. But if you're going over to GMB, they have a 1,500 character limit. So we put a character limiter. So if you've got some really good feeds in there, you just put it at 1,400 characters and then put a citation link back to your WordPress with it. This is how easy it is to create your RSS mash.
Oh my Lord.
To get a feedback into your link. So if you're doing GMB and you're using RSSMasher or RSS feeds, you now can create your own custom feed set. You could do Google Sheets. That was an add-on that we did yesterday. And Google Sheets is really powerful, is that you can come in off of Feedly. I use Feedly, and I go through either Integromat or Zapier to build Google Sheets, and then we just pick them up here. And that Google Sheet is broken down. It's got featured image, title, link, and content. It makes a perfect RSS feed. So we're the few that are converting G Sheets into feeds, but more importantly, what we're doing is we want to get the content out of Feedly that we selectively choose to go into WordPress through RSSMasher. We filter it, we spin it, and then we push it into our WordPress post. So there's some neat features that we just added that I think are going to really take over. And we talked about custom tokens, and they're inside the money hooks where you call a custom token, like check out this great product. So you could have your URL right here, or you could do a spin version, URL 1, URL 2. So you could have a spin version, or you can use a custom token. And I don't think I have any custom tokens on this. Yeah, I got a few of them. Try healthy barbecues at Paleo Q. This is my ClickBank. I've got a ClickBank link sitting in here. So I'm going to hit boom. Okay. So instead of using URLs in money hooks, and money hooks are basically, they put content above or below the actual content of the feed. So it makes it look like it's the next paragraph in the feed. It's brilliant if you take a look at how these things are done, because it flows very naturally. So it looks like you just added content to the original author. But this barbecue recipes at Paleo Q, it's a custom token, and I've got a ClickBank affiliate in there. So at any time I should have just named this barbecue recipes on ClickBank. Anytime I want to change that ClickBank affiliate, I just come up here to tokens. I don't have to mess with mashes or schedules. And I'll go into my tokens and I can just change it. Real easy to do. And it doesn't go back to all the old WordPress sites, but it will, any new post that it makes, it's using your custom token in there. That's why we put it in there. Plus the tokens, if you want to do a citation, come over here and let's say I want a full citation back to the original article. And it puts a citation in there. It puts the author, the date, the original article, the title, everything. So you don't even have to worry about citing the original article, just add that to it. So that we're adding features that make it easier for you to use different ways. So let's head back over here. I just wanted to kind of show that to you, get you some ideas thinking there. Okay, Paul had a good question. Is wondering if a token of spinnable text can be timed to respin. We don't have timers on the spins. That's more of a, you'd have to just come in and swap them out. Are you using Integromat to post RSS feeds to GMB? I don't, Michael, that's a great question. You can do it. I know there's scenarios set up to do posting to GMB. I don't personally do it. I don't do any GMB. It's more of a local business, and the clients I have are more national, selling services online. So yes, I know you could do it. How? I'm not exactly sure. I know there's some other guys on the call that probably know how to do that. Where else were we going? I know you sent me a whole bunch of great notes. I'm just kind of coming up here. Okay. One of the things too is I'm building a okay. You can use it. Here's something that y'all can do right now is you can create a niche specific, let's say you want to do sports videos. Well, if you have your own channels with sports networks, or you have a playlist that you want to promote, well, if you have a video embed network theme on WordPress, what you do is you go out and you find all the popular channels for, let's say, football. You have a fantasy football program you want to sell, or you want to sell advice or consulting. Go pull all the most popular fantasy NFL football YouTube channels. You put them into your video embed site, and you have a theme that's more focused on showing the videos, and then you mash in with it your own video channels. So anytime then, or playlist, anytime you add to your playlist, let's say it's the Dallas Cowboys fantasy draft, and you want to have your own video. Well, you go to that playlist, you upload your video to your own YouTube channel playlist. It's connected into RSSMasher Tech, and it automatically drops it into your YouTube as a video embed. And it could be right below the video embed for ESPN talking about Dallas Cowboy draft, and right above the Bleacher Report post. So it makes your video, it gives your own talking video a lot higher authority. When people are looking at ESPN, Buzz Sports, Bleacher Report, and then they see yours, it just automatically lists your authority on there. So I'll put
And also, let's take it back to that ClickBank monetization. So let's say you're doing health and beauty, to go back to that cellulite piece. There are tons of health and beauty makeover, God knows what else there is, YouTube channels. Now, those can be your source feed, and then riding along with every one of those video embeds is, the token that's spun to 3 ClickBank products and 4 eBay products and 2 Amazon products all in that health and beauty or cellulite or whatever it is niche you want. So now you've got, instead of tying your wagon to a single bell cow, you can spin it through a whole range of stuff. And because there's so, I mean, I'm just thinking about what this video embed site looks like. So you pick 4 big influencers on like makeup tutorials, which I guess is a huge thing, kind of freaks me out, but you know, makeup tutorials, butt toning exercises, and something else. And now you've come up with your ClickBank product plus Amazon plus eBay plus maybe a local feed piece where you've got you've gone out and told the local laser salon that you'll you know, you'll run ads for them, and so the link in the token is to say a simple one-page website with tracking on it, and you can go, all right, if we get, you know, 300 hits this month, you're going to pay me, you know, $25, or maybe it's more elaborate, and so it becomes like a rank and rent type deal where they're just renting based upon traffic flow, or a couponing thing where redeemed coupons are you're monetizing this is some great ideas. Monetize a redeemed coupon at a one of these laser salons. And so the business model works like this. So you're collecting their email and phone number, and you're giving them a coupon to the site. Now, this gives you the ability to go back and email the person and say, did you use the coupon? How was the service, et cetera. So you've got a way to verify that the use was done, and then estimate what the average lifetime value of the customer is to a laser salon. I have no idea what it is, but I'm just going to pick a number. Say it's $500 because they sell 5 packs of treatments, and that's $100 a treatment. So their lifetime value on that customer is $500. So you think the cost of sales in that industry should be 20%. So you should get $100 for each coupon redemption. And now you've got the way to test and follow up by following up with people to see that they got that they use the coupon, and you know, get some feedback on the service or whatever the hell you come up with to ask them to verify that they had some experience there. Now you've got a verifiable customer that you've delivered to the laser salon, and they get out of the networks you've built. You know, they're getting 7 conversions a month, and on average, maybe it's 2 1 month, and maybe it's beach season, so they're getting 12 in June. So, but you're averaging $700 off 7 customers, and you're providing, you know, a great stream of customers into a service sector where it's a commodity product. I mean, I'm assuming it is. I assume that every laser salon you go to, or waxing salon or whatever, it's basically a commodity product. I don't know. I'm talking, you know, out my rear end here, but you could sort of see how this works. And so that's, you know, that could be a killer stream of business for you. I mean, literally, it's, you know, it's one sale visit there. You're not asking them for anything up front. So they're not out of pocket. You've got tons of ability to generate traffic, and maybe you can take this model and, you know, broaden it out. There may be a national chain or somebody else that has an interest in this. You know, so that's the sort of thing when you've got this auto content power, And I think these video embed sites would just crush it over time, because you could push that now into social media. Have you seen the newest video on mud baths? Check it out here at link back to your video embed site. So
and that's a very specific niche, is mud baths. There's only 200 in the United States, but they're so competitive, and they're very expensive too.
Are they?
Yeah, so they're not going to be cheap ones. They're going to pay what you're asking for on lead gen. Now, I want to give y'all an idea here. Has anybody read the YouTube terms of service? Give me a yes if you've read completely through all the YouTube terms of service. Okay, Michael Paul said last year. Okay, on the terms of service, when you sign up and you post a YouTube, if you make it public, means that your video can be embedded on any site. You give permission for YouTube to embed video, description, title, and I think even the tags and image. There is no copyright issue. So if it's a public video that's been displayed, YouTube terms of service said you could do a video embed. Now the video embed, it has to actually point back to YouTube. You can't just copy the video and then paste it in. That's why we're doing video embeds. And so if you want to build a complete video site and all you have are video embeds, go for it. We're going to be building it for VidPenguin and some other deals. One of the things by doing this is, and I'm putting on here phone numbers, is if 90% of the people are watching your video embed network on their phone, such as a TikTok or a Snapchat lookalike theme, put phone numbers on there. So at the bottom of the mud bath videos, you have a phone number that says, schedule your next mud bath in your area. And then they call that number, and there's Trello tracking. There's a whole bunch of, well, I wouldn't say a whole bunch. There are several phone call payment providers, and they have a national database of clients. So you're not having to localize it to Calistoga, California, which has dozens of mud baths there. But you can send it to this affiliate network that just deals with phone numbers. So they'll give you a phone number, and what you do is you put your own phone number, put it in Trello, and do Trello tracking over to the CPA offer for phone numbers. So they may be this is a rank and rent philosophy, but you may not make a lot of money on the individual phone call. It may be a few bucks, but if you hit a market and you get a lot of activity coming in on a video that you've promoted back into your social networks, and you get maybe 100 phone calls within, a 2-3 month period, that's a few $100 you never have to touch. I mean, you never have to worry about your site. It's auto building. You're putting in custom tokens, which are your phone numbers in there. So this is a great idea on your video embeds. You want to do money hooks on the bottom of the descriptions coming in. So I know we're coming up right at 1 hour and 15 minutes. Are there, Michael Paul had a great question. Is there a tutorial video on Google Sheets? It came out yesterday, so we don't have a specific one. I'm going to be using it a lot, so I'm going to be making a tutorial over the next few days about Google Sheets. And I had a little problem with Integromat and Feedly. My workflow was not working correctly. So I'm testing Zapier and Integromat against each other, and I'll give you a recommendation on the training itself. Let's see. I'm looking through your notes here. We do have hashtags. So I'm going to put in here.
Oh, yeah.
Hashtagging for fun. Okay. So we have a WriteKit API that you could put in your own WriteKit API in there. And what it will do is allow you to, it will read your article and decide what the best trending hashtags, and they'll put anywhere from 2 to 3 hashtags, but you can also put emojis in there. So you'll create your WordPress in the schedule. And I know there's a replay out there, but you create your mash, it goes into the schedule, it goes into WordPress, but underneath, as you have Twitter, Pinterest, and Blogger, you can put hashtags going up in Twitter, hashtags going into Pinterest. Those hashtags and those emojis do so much more in getting engagement. I have tested both ways. I get 200 to 300% higher engagement on Facebook and on Twitter whenever I'm using hashtags and emojis. And we have that built in as an API. It's not, you have to put your own API code in there, or we have an option, if you want to, we have an API club that adds a lot of this stuff for $29 a month. You don't need that if you have your own WriteKit API, but this is a nice little feature. Is you want to make sure when you go out to Twitter, you're hashtagging it. Okay.
And that API link is in the RSSMasher dashboard, because somebody just asked about that.
Yep.
Damon, do you know what the vector is on that? Particularly I do this sort of ad hoc, I guess, okay, where with on Twitter a lot, with just because it helps build follower base. And I don't know, where that traffic necessarily comes from. I know that I can search for a particular hashtag, or sometimes I think what happens is it pops up in that right-hand sidebar on Twitter where it gives you the for you trending stuff. So like if I post pictures from where I travel oftentimes, Hawaii, and obviously I live in Colorado, which you can take your phone out and take 4 pictures, then post them over a couple of days with that Colorado hashtag. Always generates, a lot of traffic. I just don't know what the vector is. And that's something where now you're looking at, you can get somebody you could follow me on Twitter, or you could grab my RSS feed on Twitter from my account and have, repopulate all my photos with my Colorado hashtag, or my Hawaii hashtag, or my Alaska hashtag, or my Egypt hashtag, and probably just by retweeting that get more followership. And with this, now you can put like a money hook in the tweet that points people to a Colorado guidebook or an Alaska guidebook or whatever. Something I hadn't thought about, and I'm now kicking myself since I do this like every 3rd day. God, why haven't I been doing this? But on Facebook, and also I don't know what the vector is, and the original question was 20 minutes ago. Do you know how that's generating traffic, since it's performing so much better?
I started using emojis in my Facebook groups, and the hashtag. I can track. I can't necessarily track the hashtags inside of Facebook. I use Google Analytics, but the engagement of people liking, commenting, sharing the post,
because of the emoji.
It's 2 to 3 times more is what I'm seeing inside the groups, just using emojis and hashtags. And I'll tell you a whole little story. I think some of y'all probably on the call have already heard it. My mom, who's she's 76 years old, she discovered Facebook a few years ago. So she thinks this is the neatest thing in the world. And she follows me on VidPenguin and some of my other groups. And she thinks I write a lot of these articles, hashtags and emojis. And she just thinks I'm busy all day long, on Facebook. And I auto post just about 90% of everything on there. But I personalize it with the right kit extension. So by doing that, it does look like somebody spent some time to find, you know, the right emoji to fit with that article and the right hashtags. And I've noticed a big difference in Facebook and on Twitter is you can see that it's coming in from hashtags. A lot of people use Hootsuite and TweetDeck, and TweetDeck is set up to do hashtag monitoring. So if you're paired up with, and, you know, I hate to go political here, but if you're paired up with hashtag Trump 2020, your feed will actually get put in on a TweetDeck, especially if it gets retweeted. Now that's probably a very powerful hashtag, but if you're doing you know, a hashtag about mud baths, you may be the only one that day that posts anything.
Yeah.
So, you know, these are sub niches, but they are passion niches too at the same time. So if you have hashtag mud bath, anybody that's interested in mud baths and they're going on Twitter or even Pinterest, they'll be able to find you very quickly.
And that's really sort of the key point, right? It's you need, and you could say passion, but it's intensity, right? It's what is going to drive behavior is passion or intensity. So, you know, anytime you're looking, and the behavior that most of us are concerned about on a daily basis is driving a sale, closing a sale.
Yep.
So, you know, the niches that may be the best are where that degree of intensity is enough to push somebody into action. I consulted with a group of 6 folks about a year, I guess it's almost been 2 years ago that we started. And unfortunately, the guy who was leading the group passed away. And so the group fell apart, but they were doing a lot of stuff in the medical markets. And they were working on chronic pain. And it was fascinating because they were working with local pain therapy clinics. So imagine this, your client that you're trying to drive traffic to is somebody who treats chronic pain. You would think that somebody who had chronic pain, if you gave them something that looked like a solution, that they would be an action taker. Because if you're, and I deal with chronic pain myself, you get up every day and you're hurting, you tend to want to do something about it. They could not close. They were having the worst time closing. And so it taught me, and we tried a bunch of stuff and we walked through a lot of thought experiments, and you know, a lot of it was people needed to have, they were used to it. They had this problem for a while. So some of the research that we kind of gathered back was, you know, they'd been suffering with chronic pain for, I think, a minimum of 3 months. And, you know, the mean was like 18 months. So they were people that had been suffering with this for 18 months, meaning that they may have gone 18 months without doing anything. And so that there was some other hurdle, there was some other gradient to overcome that was preventing them from taking action. And that stirred a lot of questions for me. How many people are searching for things where they weren't going to take action on? And I guess that's one of the virtues of doing something like this is you can test, you can see what your click-through rate is, your conversion rate is. But you want intensity and passion. You probably don't want it to be negatively focused. Yeah. That was the other piece out of this, was that, you know, they associated their problem with such intense negativity that it was manifesting itself into inaction. It wasn't manifesting itself. It was failing to manifest itself into action. So I think that's another kind of guidepost in identifying niches and understanding motivations is positivity. I often think that looking back on this, and I count this as a failure on my part for not thinking that it was, easy. If you're hurting, you're going to do something about it. And then reflecting on my own experiences. And like, for example, I was badly hurt by a drunk driver in my early 20s. And I compounded that by racing motorcycles for years and crashing. And so I've had, I think, 20 odd surgical procedures on my knees. I really need to go in, bite the bullet, drop the 10K and have stem cell treatment, and probably expect it to fail and have to do a couple more cycles of stem cell treatments on my knees just to kind of improve my mobility and reduce my pain. But I haven't done it. And it's been 2 years since I've talked with doctors. My father-in-law is a retired doctor. He's always talking to me about the stem cell treatment, whether it works, whether it's worth it, et cetera. I have not moved forward on that. And so that is one of those things where, all right, if I'm not moving forward on it, what would make me move forward on it? Or what would, what hurdles am I creating for myself? Versus the things that I will do to address issues in my life. For instance, my wife and I built a sauna a couple summers ago, because saunas are pleasant and it's great. There's tons of great health benefits and it's low intensity. It was not cheap. It was a kit. It took us quite a while to build the thing. And then I ended up having, no, it's not a portable sauna. This is a 6-foot barrel sauna. It's really nice. I'm out there almost every day when I'm home. Had to have an electrician come wire it up because it was too much of a run from my 220 welding outfit in my garage to power the thing. And so there were hurdles, but I chose that, right? Over something else that might have a better effect, or there's different hurdles involved. I'm not sure what's inhibiting my own psychology, but this is something to think about as you're looking at evaluating some of these niches and the intensity that's required to get somebody to take action. Is the hurdle expense? Is the hurdle inconvenience? Is the hurdle pain? Is the hurdle, I think people are often paralyzed into inaction because they're afraid of something about themselves. So it's things to think about. And yeah, recurring purchases, anything that's a subscription model that you can monetize. That's the other thing that I've done consulting wise in the last couple of years that has been really successful, is having businesses convert their products into subscription models. For example, and something that might spur thinking in your own minds is I have a client that they're a consulting firm to nursing homes or assisted living facilities. I'm not supposed to call them nursing homes anymore. Assisted living facilities. Well, assisted living facilities, and this is could be like an entire business for somebody. Assisted living facilities in Colorado, and I assume most states, have a regulatory requirement that they have manuals on hand. And the manuals cover all these things that they're supposed to do. I don't know the particulars, even though I built the website for them, because I don't care. But they would consult with folks, and their model was, we sell them a manual, or we sell them consulting and they get the manual, et cetera. They had to update the manual because the regs on this stuff change like every year. And it was a natural, right? They need a subscription model. They need to sell not a manual, they need to sell a subscription to a manual that they get updated on a regular basis. It's completely changed their business model. They were, they lurched from one client to another. And now they don't worry about it because they've got every client they bring in the door is now a subscriber. So they've got a revenue stream that's highly predictable. and increases every month from their new business model, which is a subscription model. So not that, I mean, that is something to me that is, you know, if you can get these subscription model businesses or find somebody to adapt into a subscription model, or products that have subscription models that have affiliate deals, you're talking about the gold mine, right? Recurring passive income. So that was a huge tangent, but it's worth looking at in terms of how do we think about these things? How do we want to structure, you know, our business efforts?
And I want to add to this on passion projects would people be searching on Facebook? Now, they don't necessarily search, but they're searching for groups. They're searching for pages sometimes. And the high passion, high price is people are smiling when they think about golf or vacations or skiing or mud baths. Even some of the recurring purchases, you know, that they can buy it once and it just keeps coming. My biggest focus is on newsfeed marketing. So I want niches that translate well into, will people smile if they see the post, they read it on Facebook, would they be inclined to click through? Some of the things that may not work, specifically if you're doing a newsfeed style, is CBD, because you're not going to be able to advertise CBD or what's the vape
Vaping, yeah,
vaping. And I wouldn't ever set anything up to do vaping, but CBD is the oils, the pills, the extracts, and all that. Great products if y'all are selling that. I'm not saying anything against CBD. Facebook is. They don't want CBD. So the idea here is you want CBD all over your WordPress site, but up here you want something that is relaxation ideas, bucket list maybe. I'm just throwing up some ideas here. Bucket list ideas. Because what you want to do is you want to capture people that they want more out of life, or they want to learn how to relax better. So go into the benefits of these products, and CBD helps you relax. It helps with knee pain. They may not be searching on Facebook for knee pain, but they're searching on Facebook for how to do relaxation ideas. And again, I don't know this market very well, but you could have a yoga tips. And then you cross it over with CBD on the inside of your yoga WordPress site. And again, I may be wrong on my crossovers, but look for the benefits of the products that you're wanting to sell and convert those benefits into something that people are looking for on Facebook. That's when you're going to get the traffic into your site from the social networks. Scott, things that cause you to daydream. I'll add that in here. That was funny. Daydreaming photos.
Or when you're trying to fall asleep at night and you're pretending that you just won the lotto and you're running through that list of things that you would buy.
Yeah.
That might be. It's amazing how soothing that can be.
Things I would buy if I won the lottery. Guys, this is a big idea right here. This is right. If you have a Facebook page or group in here, and you do Twitter and you do Pinterest, and all it is just pictures.
Yeah, that would kill.
That would just, because you could go out and there's a lot of feeds from Pinterest about just some really extravagant gifts that you could buy. So you
Yeah.
just feed your WordPress site with just Pinterest feeds. And then you add your money hooks and your custom tokens. But this right here, then you could talk about your own little products inside of your WordPress. That's how you get around Facebook's terms of service. And they're not going to do vaping or CBD, and sometimes they don't even do specialty vitamins. But the idea has to be things that are entertaining, educational, intriguing, or interesting. That's what you're going to get the most feedback from. So anything else that we can add in here? Yeah, Elaine has a great idea. Is if you're selling things like Peloton or high-end biking or photography equipment, you want to show maybe the results of what you would get with Peloton. Is a healthy, fit body, you want healthy, fit vacations. And then you would send them over there, and then you could have fitness equipment inside of it. So anything else we need to add before we convert this into an outline and hand it out to everybody?
No, but that was all of my, all 7 of my good ideas for February. I'm pretty much shocked now, so.
Okay. Now, you have a link, and I'm going to put it in here, RSSMasher.com / was it /green?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. What was so if you don't have this, the agency license, and you want to get it, make sure it went to everybody here. I put the link in there, and you have a 25% off coupon. What was that one?
I think it's green 25. I can drop that in there, maybe.
Yeah, green 25. That will get you 25% off. So just put that in there. So if you don't have the agency license, go to RSSMasher.com /green and use the green 25. And that should get you 25% off. Guys, I appreciate you on the call. And what I'm going to do is save this. And if you want to hang for 1 minute, I'll put it into Dropbox and send you the link. And I'm going to export. Actually, let me make it into an outliner format for you here. Okay. And I'm going to expand. Well, for some reason, it's, I thought it would kick in here, but it doesn't look. Well, let's do this. I know that Mindmap works fine. So I'm going to go, oh, that's the problem. I got to expand all these out real quick. Make sure I got everything here. That's why I didn't show it. There we go. Ooh, I almost lost that one there.
Any idea how warm it is outside?
That one actually was, yeah, there we go. Okay, so everything looks good on that side, and let me make sure I get everything looking good on this side. Okay, now I'm going to save it. Outliner, there we go. Oh. I don't know why it's not showing those up. Okay, guys, I'll work on this, and I'll post the link. I'll post the link in my group, and then Guerin will post the link in his group and send it out. But I'll convert it into an outline format, and I'll also do a PDF. Whenever you do take a mind map that is this big, it's hard to read on just a single sheet. So that's why I want to convert it into an outline for you. And then that way you can kind of check off as you go through there. Guys, thanks a lot for being on the call today. I hope you're not upset that we didn't go a lot into RSSMasher technology. I think it's more important to actually have a strategy going forward and some vision in what you want to build out. Guerin, I really thank you for being on the call and leading us on some really great ideas about how you can use RSS feeds.
Yeah, this is, there's that step function piece, right? You've got to acquire enough familiarity with the platform to understand some of the possibilities, and then sort of go through this exercise that we went through today and explore some of these things. And people are going to find their path. And there's so many paths and so many possibilities here. This is a great tool, but just for me, I came up with some ideas that now, the proof is going to be, can I execute them? But this process is something I think everybody should engage in on a fairly regular basis, just to explore some of the possibilities, talk through this stuff, question your own assumptions, and you've got to convert the strategy, this process into action now, and you've got to convert the possibilities into the tools. And sometimes that can be tough, and folks that are on the call, feel free to reach out to me if you want to talk about the execution or how I would look at the execution of some of this stuff. And remember, there is no perfect path. Let's, don't get trapped into coming up with a perfect solution. Come up with a workable solution, and then iterate. And when you have successes, then replicate. So that's what the most successful businesses do. They iterate. Something works, but has certain issues with it, then work on repairing the strengths and repairing the weaknesses and amplifying the strengths. And then once you've got that, replicate. Build for scale. Know that every at bat is not going to be a home run, and maybe you really want to become that singles hitter. You want to hit into the gaps and become, get that on base percentage up. And that's really, the key. And I realize we've got a lot of folks that aren't Americans and are probably going, what the hell are you talking about? And baseball is inscrutable as it is. But I think that's a great approach for business in 2020, and maybe any time, is to think about, how do we convert this into something that we can replicate and scale, and we have the flexibility to fix or redirect when we encounter hurdles. So,
yep.
God, I talk a lot.
And guys, I'll get the replay, and I'll pass the replay off to Guerin, and I'll also pass the link to the outline PDF, because unless you have some really good glasses, these are not going to be readable on a single sheet. But thanks for joining us on the call. If you didn't get anything out of it, watch the replay and you will get something out of it. There's some ideas on finding local niches that I never even considered. And I'm very fortunate that we all got to participate on the call today, and we'll see you on the next set of calls. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Damon.
Thank y'all.